What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to recap the top 5 best days or just most fun overall days from the 2023-2024 ski season. Now, before we start getting stoked about next season, which is coming up in a few months, I do have to say that I haven't posted in 3 months, and I have some pretty good reasons for that. I've really just been working a lot and doing a lot of surfing and just being outside and trying to enjoy every moment of the summer. But at the same time, I really wanted to make some YouTube videos and get season 6 rolling, but it's been so incredibly difficult for me because I'm an intermediate surfer. I won't even say I'm an intermediate, honestly, but I'm really getting up there. I'm really working my way up every single day. And besides physical problems that I've had this summer, now with my shoulder, making a surfing video has been very difficult for me. I've just struggled getting content that I think is worth putting together for a video, and being at my level in surfing, like, there's nothing really that I've filmed that has been entertaining for me to watch, at least, so why would I put that into a video? But regardless of that, I'm still working very hard to try and get season 6 episode 1 out and try to get some summer videos. Even though the summer's basically over now, I really wanted to try to get some sort of summer vlog going. You would think working as a photographer would be easier, getting behind the camera and filming something for myself, but I found that to be quite the struggle this summer, so I'm hoping that obviously next summer I don't have that issue, and during the winter I never have that issue because skiing is something I'm a lot more experienced in than surfing, and I already have a whole flow and rhythm to everything. And you know, I can make videos by myself, but during the summer trying to get friends together to film videos and stuff can be quite the hassle. So I apologize for not posting in the last 3 months, but I've been working on all my skills and trying to make sure that the videos that do come in the future are much better than they would have been. So anyways, yeah. And one more thing that is definitely worth mentioning is I've been in physical therapy since April, and I went for my legs primarily. I had a lot of issues with my legs during the ski season. If you watched a lot of the videos, you may have known about that. But I just recently, 2 weeks ago, more like 3 weeks ago, injured my shoulder surfing, and I may have to do PT for that. So not psyching about that. That might even throw off the videos and how much I could surf. I'm still going to be posting videos, but I'm not sure how soon I'll be back in the action. But I'm hoping that it's only really a month. We'll see, but regardless of that, when you can't do one thing, get all the other things done. Anyways, I'm working on the first episode in the new season, trying to get that out eventually. I'm just trying to figure out what to film for it since I can't surf right now, and all the surfing footage I have gotten so far just hasn't really been it. So I'll get more in detail about it in a future video, but right now let's get into the top 5 best days I had this season. This past ski season had so many incredible days, but really like 5 to 6 come to mind when I actually think about this season. And before I get into that top 5, I do have 2 honorable mentions that I just had to include because they're also special days. I wouldn't say like it was the best conditions, or one of them was actually not even like a proper ski day. But let's just start off with the first honorable mention. I think back to this day a lot because it was a day where I pushed myself to ski terrain that was pretty intimidating to me. This was up at Lake Louise Ski Resort in Banff, Alberta, or just right outside of it. I lapped this zone called the Alphabet Goalies, specifically C goalie and D goalie. I did about like 1 lap in C and 2 in D, and then there was also the whole back bowl area that was so cool. An area I can't wait to explore again, but it was such a beautiful day. The views were gorgeous, and Lake Louise, like as an atmosphere, is, well, I have to say it's like the most beautiful mountain I've ever been to. It was just a day that helped me push my ability up another level, and I like thinking back to it because like it has some of my favorite runs that I've done all summer and some of the coolest views that I've ever seen. So a beautiful bluebird day in Lake Louise, can't complain one bit. All right, last honorable mention, or second honorable mention, whatever you want to call it. The pond skimming day at Hunter Mountain. Now, this wasn't a proper ski day at all. The pond skim is a competition that is pretty common at most resorts, almost all of them. But Hunter hasn't done it in about 5 years, and I did the last competition and I got absolutely drenched going halfway across. I was like 14 years old. I was so scared. It was, you know, it was one of those type of things. And now 5 years later, being 19 years old, making my way across the pond was such a good feeling to have that accomplished, or have that feeling of accomplishment after failing something 5 years ago. I haven't had the chance to do it again until now. And I technically didn't make it because I was like a foot off at the end but I want to count it because, you know, I made it through most. I only got my ankles and my legs wet, so I consider it a pass. You know, I didn't get soaked. That water was probably the worst feeling I've ever had in my life when I got completely drenched. So the fact that I didn't have to feel that was pretty awesome. And then I got to meet some really cool people that day. And I just felt super stoked because it was such a cold day and I really want to psych myself up to do it. But I was totally happy that I did it. You know, sometimes you gotta do those things that make you feel uncomfortable because, you know, the reward or the outcome will be so much greater. All right, cool. I just had to talk about those 2 days because I thought they were pretty special. And I always think back to them when I think of the 2023-24 ski season. But there's 5 days this season that I can tell you were some of the most fun days of my life and easily come to mind first. So number 5, Sugarbush, Vermont. I think this was April 4th. During a pretty insane spring season of skiing on the East Coast, we got about 20 plus inches of snow beginning of April up in Vermont. During a pretty insane spring season we had on the East Coast, the whole Vermont region and honestly most of the East Coast got an insane amount of snow the first week of April. I think Sugarbush got about 20 plus inches of snow and Hunter got about a foot, but we decided it would be much more worth it to take the drive up to Sugarbush, which is a beautiful drive, by the way. It's so vast and it feels so remote in a way. Unlike going to like Killington or Okemo, the drive up to Sugarbush was a lot quieter. But after like making jokes about us getting snowed after an already incredible snow day we had just a few days before, during the next week during spring break, I guess it was. I forget what it was. Anyways, whatever it was, we were just making jokes about a ton of snow coming before the end of the season, which was only a week away. And the fact that we actually got that was pretty incredible. And we were just like, we have to chase powder in like the best resort we could think of. So we went up to Sugarbush and honestly had one of the best days of all time. The only downside about this day was the resort lost power for about an hour in the morning. So getting the freshest tracks was a little difficult, but once the lifts started to open up more, we got about 2 runs before that anyways, but once the lifts started to open up more, we were really ripping the entire day. And my skiing on the Armada 116JJ just felt so amazing. I felt like my skiing ability in powder just went up so much more than all my other skills this season. I just had such a blast and I really felt like I was ripping for once. So that's a day that was super special to me. And the terrain that we skied was very fun and just pretty technical. But at the same time, like nothing was that crazy. We were just flying through powder fields the entire day. And Sugarbush is probably my favorite resort on the East Coast. So it was a pretty special day to experience Sugarbush for the first time after hearing about it. And yeah, just spending time with my dad. We had a cool little hotel room too. It was like such a cool vibe. We had this like bagel shop where I got a bagel with cream cheese in the morning, like literally a minute down the road from us. And then another thing to top it, like the cherry on top, was the fact that the resort opened at 10 a.m. So we had so much time in the morning and then we still got first tracks. So such an incredible feeling. And then to be in the parking lot, dumping snow, not thinking I was going to experience that for another 8 months, experiencing it in April and just having the time of our life. It was so incredible. So number 5, Sugarbush. Yeah, so good. Such a fun day. And number 4, this is actually a very similar day. But this is in Okemo, Vermont. This was on March 23rd, 2024. Probably the sickest powder day I've ever had on the East Coast, for sure. We got about 30 inches of snow on this one day. It was my dad's birthday weekend. And it was pretty much like the same story as the Sugarbush episode, where we just saw what was coming down on Hunter, realized it was way more worth it to go up to Okemo, up into Vermont. So we did the drive up there, and there was a lot more people that day. And we got to the mountain about like 20 minutes after it opened, which is not bad at all. But the powder that we scored that day was unbeaten. It was so good. Well, actually, it could be beaten because it was like pretty tracked out most of the day. But for the runs that we got first tracks on and whatever, it was just so incredible. And this was my first real powder day on the Armada ARVs, because my first day that I actually used those skis was in Fernie, and I had a lot of leg problems where I couldn't really test the ski. But at Okemo, I was able to test it to full strength, and I gotta say, that was some of the best skiing I've ever done. Like I said in my Sugarbush review, I really felt like it was the first time I was ripping in powder, and that was really where I got to put that to the test for the first time, and I will never forget that. Okemo is such a vibe. It's a pretty easy mountain, But that day was just so unforgettable. It was a great way to spend my dad's birthday weekend. I'm so happy that he had a great time. To have a day like that, March 23rd, you know, we called it Miracle March because we were having a pretty bad March so far. And after the big road trip, I was like really wasn't anticipating to have an incredible, more incredible days. But I was wrong, you know, Miracle March always comes into clutch. So number 4, Okemo, incredible day. All right, number 3, we're actually bringing it out west to Snowbird on my birthday, which is really funny. We had powder days on both of our birthdays. This was on January 13th at Snowbird. Such an incredible day to just, you know, we woke up so early. I think we were up at like 4 or 5 a.m. Got on the canyon line and just waited for hours to go up there. I think we got in line at about 6 a.m., 6:45, maybe 7. It could have been around that time. And we didn't start skiing till 1 o'clock. Like the canyon opened up at 11 a.m. and I think it was around 10:30 or 11, but either way, it took us forever to get on the mountain. We only had 3 hours to ski, but those 3 hours were so incredible. I mean, Snowbird on a powder day, there's not really much else to say. I mean, Snowbird's like the sickest resort of all time, and to have an insane powder day on my birthday there, I turned 19, I was just like, I was so psyched. I didn't really care, and the terrain we were able to ski was so fun. And there's not really specifically anything like the other 2 Vermontes that made it super special. I mean, Snowbird obviously gets a lot of snow in January, but the fact to just be lucky enough to score that on my birthday and to be starting off an incredible road trip and only be in day 2 and already have such an insane day was just incredible. So that's a day I'll never forget. Awesome birthday. We got super lucky this year. And then after, I got some really cool footage. Went out for a birthday dinner. It was just such a perfect day. All right, number 2. This one is very special. This is in Revelstoke, British Columbia. Lucas Catania is one of my, I would say, biggest inspirations to the channel, just in the way I film and whatever. And I get a lot of inspo from him, but I just love the community that he created. And to be able to ski with him in person and meet him and not only do a basic lap together, but do a whole 45-minute lap, maybe even longer than that, through the North Bowl at Revelstoke with Lucas, his father, Joe Catania, and his sister, Natalie, was such an insane experience. Revelstoke is a pretty scary mountain, so to have them guiding me through it was pretty incredible. I remember waking up in the morning and I checked on my story and Lucas posted that he was there, so I was like, wow, that's quite a coincidence. So I thought hey, might as well try to get a lap in. But that lap was so much better than I would have thought. It wasn't just like a groomer lap or whatever. we did some pretty serious terrain. I mean, it wasn't insane, but we went to some pretty cool spots. And I had full conversations with them as we went on, as we hiked up, skied and whatever. So that's an experience I'll never forget. Lucas is an awesome guy. I'd recommend you subscribe to him. And to be skiing with people who you get inspiration from, or just do anything with people that inspire you, it's always a special experience. But yeah, that's one I'll never forget. And then after the day ended, we drove to Lake Louise, and probably the scariest drive of the year. There's tractor trailers just on our ass for 4 hours while we were driving. I think it's called the Trans-Canada Highway. And it was dumping snow. I mean, probably the worst driving conditions we've ever had. But when we made it to Lake Louise, me and my dad had a beer, and it was honestly just the best way to end off the day. It was just the perfect finale to such a hectic day, but such a great day, and one that I definitely think back to a lot. All right, what could possibly be better than those 6 days I just talked about? Well, there was this one day at Brighton in January. It was only a few days after my birthday. That was just insane. January 17th at Brighton was one of the most incredible days of my life. Maybe the best day, or at least one of them. We got about, I would say, maybe 9 inches overnight, but the snow kept coming down all day. So the first time I went to Brighton, it was a very big powder day. We skied from, I think, 12 p.m. to 9 p.m. that day. We literally had to hike up Big Cottonwood Canyon. It was my first night skiing experience. We had so much powder. And then the second time we went to Brighton, we got there at 8 a.m. I think, and we started skiing from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. And I remember being sick that day, but it was such a sick day, no pun intended, just exploring the mountain, and it was such a long day, so that definitely wasn't the best thing to do in that scenario. But when we went back to Brighton this year, it was kind of like a wintry mix of rain and snow. So I was like, it probably won't be as crazy as the first experience. I was very, very wrong. This was definitely the best day I've ever had at Brighton, because even though the night skiing wasn't dumping powder, the first like 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. I would say, we got there at 9 a.m. and started skiing like 10 minutes later or whatever. The first like, I'm just gonna say, like, the daylight skiing was incredible. I went to so many zones on the mountain. It was just me, pretty much. I was just exploring the whole mountain by myself, and I covered so much ground. I mean, I did every chairlift besides Millie, because Millie is pretty separated from everything else. But I went to, I think it's the Crescent Lift, Snake River. I'm totally messing those names up. I think it's Snake Creek or whatever. And then Great Western, and all the skiing I did was incredible. But the snow, dude, there was nobody around the entire day. I mean, there was people on the mountain, but every run I did was like untracked, especially this run under the chairlift that went through the woods. I thought so many people knew about it. I had so many runs through this little like zone in the trees, and it was untracked every single run I did. The only tracks in that run were from me. So I was like, I don't know how I'm the only one going in here. And as I made my way lookers left throughout the entire mountain, I just found all these new zones, terrain that I wasn't able to ski the last time I was there. And then at Great Western, I was just skiing pretty much every lap I could until it got late, and then I had this loaded baked potato with my dad in the lodge. And then my dad started to feel better throughout the day, so we skied at night together, and we were both feeling really good, and it was just such a sick way to end off the day. And then we got home, or back to the hotel room I should say, very, very late, and we were so exhausted. But I would have to say, like, skiing wise, that was definitely the best day I had all season. The most untracked snow, a crazy amount of snow. I mean, it was free refills every run, and then I think it's finally stopped around the nighttime. But if I had to say, like, that was definitely the craziest day I had all season. But there was a lot of crazy days, so I mean, it's hard to rank all the days specifically, but when it really comes down to it, I would say like the day at Brighton was definitely my favorite. Anyways, yeah, I don't really film a lot of sit-down talks that much anymore. I used to. But I finally got a better setup. I'm in my new room now. So yeah, I'm just psyched to be back behind the camera again. I'm very bummed about my shoulder right now, but you know, when one thing isn't going right, there's plenty of opportunities to fix other things. So yeah, I'm going to try to get some more up-to-date videos for you guys. But in the meantime, there's plenty of recapping to do off this last ski season before the next season starts. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully things go pretty well with my shoulder. I'll keep you guys updated about that. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care. Peace out.